once, I will do
Survival
so again.
requires brutal choices.
Big
I cannot let my efforts be in vain.
Jeez. I mean, the damage is kind of good. I would say it's kind of good. Just won't stop dropping.
The deed is done.
Hey guys, I'm happy to report that my Invoker Mjolner build has turned out to be really nice. I'm actually even a bit surprised because I struggle getting damage, but somehow eventually, I reached level 91 now, somehow eventually it just started doing so much damage that I can defeat map bosses in like 1 or 2 seconds. And this is not the tankest build, it's surviving up to tier 15, Citadel's just fine, and dealing with Citadel bosses is also just fine. I tried all the lowest tier splinter stuff like 50 splinters, and the only issue was Simulacrum. Not very well suited because it is relying on Shockwave Totem to survive, but yeah. The build is using couple things and weapon swapping for Shockwave Totem, and there are a couple buffs to increase its damage, but in general for map clear it feels very smooth. You drop the totem, you apply a couple of fissures on the ground, and you are pretty much free to run around because Shockwave Totem will keep proccing it, and those fissures will keep hitting enemies, which will ramp up Mjolnir's skill, which is essentially like melee on hit skill, but it needs energy to ramp it up, to proc it. And also I'm using Quarter of the Storm. I'm not sure what's like a damage distribution, but Mjolnir itself isn't really enough, I think. And you kind of need Quarter of the Storm to help with single target. There are still multiple ways you can improve this, and basically what I'm trying to say that for me, this is very pleasant build to play. It works good enough defensively. It has like 11k evasion. It does use many persistent buffs, which is kind of weird. The main items that I'm using is Mjolnir. I am not dual wielding Mjolnir, but I am using Guiding Palm of the Mind Scepter. I think I'll make a separate video about this scepter itself because it does have some interesting properties. But the scepter works like a stat stick, and it gives a lot of spirit, and it gives an extra persistent buff which you can sock at pretty much any support gem without increasing the spirit reservation. And then I'm using the Vertex helmet, which has 50% reduced attribute requirements for equipments and skill gems. So it's very easy to meet the attribute requirements for Mjolnir. Normally you would need over 200 strength and intelligence, but now just 107 strength and only 100 intelligence required. And it is Invoker. For defenses, you kind of want evasion plus ES and then maybe deflection. I do have a bit of deflection, so the rest kind of goes into dexterity, but you don't need that much dexterity. I think I would still kind of distribute my stats a bit more towards strength or intelligence, either to get a bit more life or to get more ES, rather than dexterity, because dexterity doesn't give evasion, it seems. Then Quarter of the Storm. I just recently bought level 20 Lightning Bolt, which was 4 Divines non-corrupted. Also using Grip of the Kulamag, but this is not mandatory. This is just, you can get damage and you can get a bit of defenses on one item, but I guess mostly for damage. I just wanted to do something, you know how I love using unique items. Could just use a rare. And then the rest is just get life and evasion and resistances, obviously. So I do have a bit of PS resistance as well, but not that much. Now for the weapon swap, there are multiple different options, but you want fast weapon mainly for Shockwave Totem. This weapon is in the fast weapon slot for a reason. The second weapon slot is using my main setup. In here you just set up Shockwave Totem to be only used with weapon set 1. Now here's how fast my Shockwave Totem is attacking with this. Very fast, right? Now the way I achieve that through a couple supports. So obviously attack speed support. Then there's this, the totem also needs to survive. You essentially want to proc your fissures, because a Shockwave Totem procs fissures. Each time it slams, it procs fissures. Now there's a a thing about fissures as well. I don't want to go into too much explanation because I'm not 100% certain how exactly it works. But as I imagine, there's a limit of how many fissures you can create. These fissure branches do not overlap against single target. Don't quote me on that. I just think that we do not overlap. Only like one reactivation of the wall lines of fissures will only count as a one hit. So against single target, you do not want to create multiple fissures with one attack. You want one attack to create as few fissures but as many branches for clearing. But for single target, as few fissures as possible. That way you have to attack multiple times until you reach the maximum fissure limit. That way you get more overlaps for single target. It's kind of hard to explain and I'm not sure if that's how exactly it works, but for that reason, my volcanic fissure is using branching fissures instead of the other support that adds the amount of fissures. Because this way, it's hard to explain. I hope you understand what I mean, but basically that's what I'm using, branching fissures instead of extra fissures. So the shockwave as well, for more attack speed, you can get Rigwald's ferocity. That's why it's in the weapon set 1. In the weapon set 1, you get 20% more attack speed, and the damage doesn't matter of Shockwave Totem in this setup. And then Totem Life to make it survive a bit more, and also Great Wood to give it a bit more maximum life. Shockwave Totem itself does get a lot of maximum, just in general, elemental resistances and here's resistance just with levels. So at level 19 it's already capping its elemental resistances. So you don't need to worry about getting elemental resistances on Totem. Ideally you would still want Totem physical damage mitigation, but I don't have that. Now Volcanic Fissure is also with attack speed just to make it smoother, because remember, you're not really dealing much damage with Volcanic Fissures in general, but you are dealing damage with spells. The Volcanic Fissure is just to trigger spells more frequently and easier. And you do want crits for Choir of the Storm, but you don't need crits for Mjolnir, because Mjolnir, this only requires melee attacks, but it doesn't have to be melee hit with the Mjolnir. You can use shield skills and still ramp up Mjolnir skill energy thing. So Volcanic Fissure has pinpoint, crit chance is 39% right now. I do not have critical weakness anywhere, but that's another thing that you could figure out how to add. Maybe on weapon swap. I just do not want to overcomplicate the build. And then using, like I said, branching fissures. Culling Strike, not really needed, but it's nice to have. You don't need this because this is like a final support, which is a bit expensive. And also using more stun build-up. This is just for utility. You could use like Maim if you want, or something else, or just not use anything. The Mjolnir links skills. Using Arc, I used Spark just a build before this, so I didn't really want to rely on Spark mostly. But you could use some other lighting skills, because Mjolnir skills do not cost mana. So you could use some skill that cost a lot of mana, but skills that have longer cast time would also require more energy before it gets triggered. With Lighting Mastery, Boundless Energy, increase the energy gain, and have a chance to refund part of that energy. Basically to increase the proc rate of not Spark, but of Arc. Arc also can apply stronger shocks than Spark. I tried using Cast on Crit as well. I have a setup, but I disabled it because it just drained my mana too much, and it did not feel like it was contributing to my DPS enough. But I was trying all sorts of setups. The last one was Orbo Storms, also tried Spark, also tried Snap, also tried Lighting Conduit. You don't need to use Lighting, you could use something else, but what's the combo? You could maybe try doing Ball Lighting and then Lighting Warp combo. Next, Lightning Bolt from Choir of the Storm. It does have Zenith to help sustain mana and just gives big damage. Plus 1 lighting. This is purely for single target, so more area damage, does give quite a lot. Rising Tempest, you are always using fire skill and lighting skill, so you are getting 24% more elemental damage very easily. And then lastly, I added cooldown recovery because it has half-second cooldown for lightning bolts. Now the weird thing is, and I'm not sure if it's a tooltip bug or if that's an actual bug, any cooldown recovery rate on the passive skill tree does not seem to affect the cooldown of these lightning bolts from Choir of the Storm. I had this anointed and it did nothing on the tooltip. So I'm not sure if it is a bug visually or an actual bug, so I just changed my anointment into this anointment. Next, the Purity of Lighting, which is coming from this one. You don't actually need higher level for this one unless you really want a final support. Every support gem socketed inside this, which has no reservation cost, no spirit cost, will not add extra spirit cost. You see, removing this does not change my spirit reservation. So it's for free. It's basically free reservation. So, and you can actually mix cannibalism tier 2 and cannibalism 1 somewhere else. So it's very easy to add some extra beneficial buffs. Like you do need accuracy. You put precision 2 in here and precision 1 somewhere else, and boom, you're getting like 80% increased accuracy out of nowhere. Clarity, vitality. Then I have early weakness is for non-criticals, because with this, when you crit, you ignore enemy resistances. And as Invoker, I'm gonna show you my passive skill tree in a moment. So early weakness helps against non-critical hits. Voltaic Mark is just to apply a bit stronger shock, and that's pretty much it. Now for my auras, also have Wind Dancer, which is linked to Blind just for some utility, increased AoE to cover bigger area, and cooldown. Then the Ghost Dance, because it recovers your energy shield based on your evasion, and if you have like 11k evasion, that's over 700 ES recovered. Less skill effect duration increases, or should I say reduces the time it needs to get an extra ghost route. So less skill effect duration is useful. And then clarity 1, because I already have clarity 2 elsewhere. Vitality. Trinity, actually I'm not entirely sure if I believe that Trinity actually gives me 21% more damage with just single element, but I am ramping up 2 elements. So am I really getting 42% more elemental damage just by using Trinity? Is it really that easy to get damage from Trinity? In PoE 1 is a bit different, and it's linked with whatever, either plus fire or whichever other element. Since I am getting plus 4 levels to lighting skills from Mjolnir, it also affects Trinity and is able to push this to 7%. Mana Tempest is also nice. I'm not sure if Mana Tempest is affected by less cost, but maybe it is. And yeah, you are getting a lot of damage, but it drains a lot of mana quickly. And yeah, that's my skill setup. Now the passive skill tree, this is Invoker, but I am not using these. I did try these at the start. This skill scales with your attributes, and I'm not stacking a lot of intelligence, dexterity or strength to make these do enough damage, because I am getting ignore enemy resistances from the amulet. This is also kind of not needed. It's very much pointless specking into that. What else is left? You get more energy, obviously lighting damage. Unbound Avatar also gives a lot of more elemental damage, so it's like a bossing skill. In combination with Mana Tempest, you more than double your DPS essentially. And then I decided to pick up this because there's nothing else left. Meditate, maybe meditate for more defense rather than this. I never tried this. I don't want an extra button. I'm not sure, you don't need to be Invoker for this to work, but if you want more proc rate, you kind of want Invoker for the most proc rate. The Mjolnir is a meta skill, but it's not invocation. As far as I understand, invocation is similar to meta skills. It is also a meta skill, but invocations are things that you have to manually click the button to trigger. So I'm focusing on crit. I'm not sure if it's worth traveling here to pick up attack crit, but most of my criticals are with attacks, I assume. So getting all the crit, this one is important. For anointment, by the way, you may want to anoint Lucky Lighting somewhere here, but it's very expensive, almost free Divine's anointment. If you need mana sustain, you can pick up mana cost efficiency here. A bit more mana cost efficiency here, along with attack speed, which does help. Shockwave Totem. For defenses, getting evasion and energy shield stuff. Also, I do have 3 jewels. One of the jewels, it's not mandatory. A rare jewel, just normal rare jewel, would be just as good, I think. Then another one is in here. This is from nothing, which links me to here. This is how I got a bit more totem life, and this one is very nice. It gives a lot of crit chance and a lot of increased damage. And the last jewel is Heart of Well. I wanted a bit of either life or mana on kill, and I had it for my previous character. It does give a bit of everything: life on kill, mana cost efficiency, and chance for lighting damage to be lucky. So yeah, the gear could be a bit better. Like you could get more sockets on the helmet. You could get a bit better body armor with more evasion and energy shield. Same for the gloves. You probably don't need that much accuracy anymore. But plus levels to melee skills also affect Shockwave Totem, which increases its life. That's pretty much the only reason why I got plus levels to melee skills. If you got some interesting ideas what kind of changes could be done, but then again, like I have a lot of damage, I feel like I have a lot of damage and my defenses are pretty solid. at least in my opinion. Like, it's working. Why even why change something that is not broken? You know, there are different ways to build it, right? I would like to know if you built something similar. What did you do differently, basically? The weapon swap, I'm sure you could do something different with critical weakness shield, maybe bone storm, but I like I said, I did not want to click an extra button because I already have 1, 2, 3, 4 button, 4 just buffs, and then totem that I need to use only once, and then this one couple times. So it's already quite a few buttons to click. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.